Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian P. Easton, the author of a book series called Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter, and your host for Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter. Come on inside. Welcome back to the Werewolf Bar, my friends, for the July edition of our 8th season on YouTube. Good for you to stop by for a while tonight on this warm July evening. We've got a good show for you this evening with a visit from X and Z, horror movie reviews, and something we've never tried before on the show involving the customization of a werewolf skull. But first, our creature of the night, which is old reliable here at the Werewolf Bar, Clark and Sheffield Bourbon, courtesy of Benny's Beverage Depot out of Chicago, Illinois. This has become our go-to whiskey at the Werewolf Bar, not only because of the attractive price point and the higher than your average beer alcohol content, but also because it is a mighty tasty creature in and of itself, a product of our old pals down at Barton Distillery down in Bardstown, Kentucky. And since we just celebrated the 4th of July in honor of my second favorite monster hunter of all time, let's drink to our legs. If you follow my Facebook page, you may have seen some posts lately that I made regarding the upcoming Werewolf film, W-E-R-W-U-L-F, Werewolf, I suppose. Or maybe it's just werewolf. Anyway, by Robert Eggers. And I've been excited about this since it was announced last year. Not only because I think Eggers is the man for the job, but because after the release of Nosferatu, I outwardly expressed a wish that he would do the same thing for a werewolf. I might have even done it on this very show. And it wasn't but a few months later that I found out that, yeah, he's actually going to do it, which seemed to have come true. And I've been following the development on this ever since. Since the last time we got together, Eggers has conducted his first interview on the film, which I shared on my page. He released the first images, and I also shared that. And then he released some of the poster art for the film, and then the trailer, which has werewolf fans all over the world talking. To do my part in the promotion of this film, which I'm very excited about, and just to be honest with you, I haven't been excited about a werewolf film since at least 2011. So, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, let me bring you, with great pleasure, Robert Eggers' first preview of Werewolf.
Of God. Come. Do not dread the darkness. Embrace it. I heard of a raving beast that ravished this country.
Keep my husband safe from his cursedness.
Thy soul is cursed. Thy kin are cursed. Thy world
If this movie had a lot to live up to before the trailer dropped, it has even more now. I don't want to go ahead and jump to conclusions or get ahead of myself, and I certainly don't want to jinx anything. But I think I can safely say, just judging by his other body of work and his propensity to go dark, which is long overdue. We've never seen a werewolf film like this before. If you want to follow my Facebook page, all you do is find the link down in the description below with all the rest. And rest assured, if there are new developments that come along, I will be sharing all the way up until the film premieres on Christmas Day. And now, as Monty Python's Flying Circus used to say, for something completely different. I showed you some werewolf skulls last month, created by Memento Mori Vault. And I believe I mentioned that I had some others, including one that was coming from a different vendor. Well, that's all arrived between then and now. But unlike the two I showed you last month, the one that I just recently received came unfinished. The color was just very white and the same color as the material that was used to make it. So I decided to age it and to document the process and share that with you tonight. So here's my attempt at a do-it-yourself werewolf skull, antiquing it from a fine specimen procured from an outlet called Carnivore Studios. Watch. So today we're going to be painting a skull from Carnivore Studios. I showed you a few skulls last month, told you there was another one coming, but this one has come in a very white color. So just want to share with you real quick Carnivore Studios information. And then we're going to get to the process of painting this skull. We're not really going to paint it. We're going to stain it with some paint, according to a process that I found online. And I'll post the original video link that I followed, or that I'm going to follow, down in the description below. By the way, this here is a piece by a friend of mine named Chris Kuchka, horror artist. One of the best depictions of the howling that I've ever run across. Excellent job there, Chris. Anyway, to do this, we are going to be using burnt umber. This is the first time I've actually done a hands-on video like this, so you have to bear with me. Burnt sienna. These are all acrylic paints. A yellow or golden ochre. And then good old-fashioned black. We've also got our palette here, which we'll be using, and a fairly broad bristled brush, because there's a lot of coverage to do here, and the little one's just not going to cut it. Let me show you real quick what we're working with here. So we have three parts to this skull. We've got the main part of the skull with the vault. You've got the lower mandible. And then this is just a piece of genius. This is just a piece of vertebrae that they've done that fits with this thing perfectly, so that when the skull is placed on it with the skull, I told you I wasn't very good at this, the vertebrae basically props it up and keeps it level. Although I do kind of like this without that. I don't know, something to decide later on as we get going. Okay, so we're going to start out with some of the burnt sienna first. And according to the video I saw, oh, forgot a step. We're supposed to spray this down first. Jumped right in too early already. We're supposed to do this to all the parts of the skull that we're doing. Okay, so let's take it from there. I probably have too much now, but it's just supposed to be kind of a base coat for this. The idea, of course, at the end is to make everything look more aged, more like a weathered skull than just pure white. The other two that I showed you last week, they had already had something like this process done to them from the makers. So I didn't have to do this with them. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and give it the treatment. And you can see there's a lot of ground to cover here. So that's why I'm using the large bristled, or a larger brush than you would usually use for something like this. Just want to make sure I get all the nooks and crannies, because once it dries, places where the paint didn't hit it are going to stand out like a sore thumb. So we want to do our very best to make sure everything is accounted for up in here. Don't worry about the teeth too much, because other plans for those later on. Now we're supposed to mist the skull again. Let some of that just kind of wash off. I went ahead and did the same thing to the other two pieces here with the wash. The next step, it says, is we're going to bring out the hairdryer now and dry this thing Okay, so I hair dried all the skull pieces, and as you can see, the main part of the skull has come out with a ruddy tone to it, which I guess is the point. And now we're going to go over it with some burnt umber. So I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to use the same water too, actually. Doesn't really matter, I don't think. And I'm just going to start. I'm not going to spray down. The instructions didn't call for spraying it down this second time, so I'm just going to go over it like that with the burnt umber. Maybe a little less diluted. It's hard to know. It's hard to know about this, especially when you've not done it very much, like I haven't. Done it a couple of times. But this is by far the best procedure that I've found, as far as like a step-by-step guide for aging fake bone, like a skull. Just getting in there. A lot of this is just so it settles in the cavities, because even though it's being watered down, once it gets into those cavities, the water will dry out, but the paint will harden, also dry in there, leaving some pigment, which is what we're going for. And again, I want to try to get all the nooks and crannies of that so that I can. Looks pretty decent. I'll go ahead and give it another spray. some of that wash off of there. Okay, so back from the burnt umber wash, hair dried all 3 pieces, painted all 3 pieces. Can't tell a whole lot of difference looking at it right now from before the burnt umber wash. The only thing that I'm really noticing is that since this skull is 3D printed, the paint's causing some striations to appear in the print. That's okay. I don't think there's any getting around that. But the next step is that we're going to be applying a yellow ochre wash. That's the next color in this. And for that, I'm going to get some clean water because it's a lighter color. I don't want the other colors getting mixed up with it. Yeah, so our yellow ochre is just about the same color as mustard, yellow mustard. So we're going to go over this. Now I imagine the yellow is going to play off of the other 2 colors and give us kind of that old bone look, or help contribute to it. Sometimes you see the skulls that are aged and they're brown, either from age or mummification or being in a tar pit in the case of some of the Pleistocene type animals. You see dire wolf skulls and saber-toothed cats and such. We're not going for that. I think we'd have taken a completely different route if we were going to go for that tar pit look, which is okay, but I've got enough of those. No need for everything to look like it crawled out of the tar pits. Again, wanting to get all the nooks and crannies. One of the things about this skull, because it is 3D printed with a 3D resin, is that the paint was actually going to penetrate the skull and stain it. Where the original video that I went off of for this, which I said I'll post in the links down below, was using I think it was a plastic skull. So it didn't take the paint quite as well as these. Now, it doesn't say to spray for this part, so I'm just going to hair dry it. Okay, so as you can see, the yellow really took hold. I don't know that is maybe too yellow, but fortunately, the directions call for a second wash of the burnt umber. And this is probably why, because of the yellow there. So we got a new thing of water, and we're going to start this all over again with the wash of burnt umber. Maybe I'll not use as much water this time. It's hard to know exactly when you're using too much, because you don't want to just paint it, right, and it be just brown. The idea is for the wash to seep into the seams and to also, do its part on the rest of the bones without just outright painting it that color. The good thing about working with acrylics is that if you make a mistake, it is water soluble, and you can just spray it down some more, get a rag, wipe it clean. Worst case scenario, you put the whole thing in a wash and start over. It's not like you're dealing with the oils here. Now this does make quite a mess. I don't know if you can see quite the mess it's making, but it is making one. That's why I'm doing it by the sink, and when my wife is not home. All right. I'm going to go ahead and spritz that down just a little bit. Blow dry it. Do the same thing to the other two pieces, and we'll be back for the finish. All right, so our last wash is going to be black. Now, some of these striations don't look too bad. They kind of give it a more interesting look, I think. Sometimes the best effects are the ones you don't plan for. And, yeah, you can, like, there's little spots all around here where the little pits where the darker paints have sunk in. Can't really plan for that. So the last, like I said, the last one is the black. And so the instructions say to spray it all down. So we're going to spray it all down. I'll go ahead and spray down these other two pieces while I'm at it. There's a reason why I don't do do-it-yourself stuff on YouTube. I'm not very good at it. All right, so here we go with the black wash. This is really, really stark. And as you can see, that's really giving it a... Now, if we were just to go over this with black paint, we'd be really just ruining everything we did before. But since it's watered down, we're good. The one thing we are going to avoid on this round is the teeth. We don't want to get that too much involved with the black on the teeth. Instead, we have other plans for that later down the line. That's pretty dark. Just a little more there. Get inside these sockets. The hairdryer really does a good job of just moving the water out of there instead of just waiting for it to dry, air dry, which we will do once this step is finished. All right, I'm going to blow dry that, paint the other pieces, blow dry them, and we'll be back. Okay, so here is the almost finished product. At least this is the skull. Skull is done. And the striations, it almost gives it a fossilized look, you know, like the bone has turned to stone. Like this was maybe the skull of some prehistoric werewolf. Anyway, I think that turned out pretty good. There's the vertebrae part that keeps it standing up. And there it is for effect. I'm going to go over the teeth. After I give this a chance to air dry, I'm going to go over the teeth with a high gloss varnish to give them an enamel type appearance. And then when I'm done with that, I'm not sure. I may go over the whole thing with a polyurethane. I'm not sure, but we'll let you know before it's over with. Oh, and here we are with the finished product. After I left you last time, I went over the teeth with that high gloss varnish, and I went ahead and polyurethaned the skull, but that didn't turn out so good because it left a white deposit in different pockets and left it overall not looking so good. So I went back in, picked off, especially around the teeth, picked off the white parts around the teeth that looked bad, rubbed some dark wax into the base of the teeth because some of the black wash that we used just didn't settle in like I wanted it to. Added some additional yellow to the fangs And then I rubbed the whole thing down with a little bit of Danish oil, which makes it much shinier than the polyurethane did. Overall, I am pleased with this. It did turn out, I think, looking like it was fossilized because of the different striations and the pigment catching in those because it was 3D printed. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good, and I'm going to put this on the shelf next to the other ones. Thanks to Carnivore Creations for supplying the skull, and for the YouTube channel in the links below. I forget the name, I'm sorry, who gave us the procedure. Most of it, anyway. So as you can see, there's quite a difference there between the original and the finished product. And I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I posted the links to Carnivore Studios and Historical Recreations, who provided the process I used, down with the rest of the links in the descriptions below. And I'll be showcasing other vendors who offer original werewolf-related materials in episodes to come. So, like and subscribe if you don't want to miss those shows. Well, it's been a few months since we've had X and Z reviews on the show. And though we might be a little late on the draw with this one, we figured better late than never. In case you don't know about our buddy Miles Booth over at MB Press, he and his son have put together a YouTube channel where they review movies from the perspectives of Generation X and Generation Z, respectively. Here tonight to review and discuss the film Backrooms is X and Z Reviews.
Welcome to X and Z Movie Reviews. We are back, and tonight we're doing the Backrooms. We just saw it in the theater. It's something that both of us agree on that we loved, and we are going to do our review of it. We're going to do an analysis of it because there's a lot to talk about. This is a movie that's more than just a movie.
Yes.
So we're going to kick it right off with a Gen Z perspective because this is a Gen Z film.
This is all Gen Z, baby.
Pure modern storytelling, and it's great. What did you think? What are your thoughts?
So jumping into the Backrooms for Gen Z, for me, this movie is about the repetition of daily life, the monotony of it, the poison that it generates. You go every day, you watch the same videos, you do the same job, and eventually this will make you crazy. This whole movie plays on this. It plays on the poison of looping back on itself. Every time you do it, it gets a little bit worse. The first time you saw the meme video, it was funny. By the 25th time, not so fun. So it plays a huge role. It's one of the major themes in the movie, apart from the atmosphere, which we'll get into more later. But it is cleverly done. It is personified through the main characters, and it is very, very well crafted, to say. So for Gen Z, it's very eye-opening because it's representative of today's world, you know. So for Gen Z, that's my take on the Backrooms, which I was not expecting from the Backrooms.
Okay.
So moving on from that.
So you had experience with the Backrooms,
right?
Because you've been watching.
I've been watching the series and the concepts
for years.
For a few years.
And in fact, I remember you showing me maybe 2 years ago a Backrooms video, and you explained it to me. And at the time, I didn't register what it was.
I only showed you one video, and it was the first video in Kane Pixel's series, because that one's the most popular, and of course he's the director of this Backrooms movie. And at that point, I don't know how well I explained it to you, but in either case, it was very hard to grasp what it's really about just on one
Yeah,
video.
I didn't get it at that point,
Right,
but now that we've seen the movie, now I do get it.
right.
And
No, they do
how
it very
you
clever.
explain the loop and the repetition of daily life, to me, this is very representative of a couple of different things. So anyone that's worked with computers, you do a backup, and then you do a backup every day, and then after a year, you have 365 backups, all of kind of the same thing with very minor differences and adjustments. And over time, things get corrupted, data gets corrupted, and in the back rooms, you go through room after room after room, and they're all kind of the same but slightly different, and then some things get corrupted. So it's very, very cool, a metaphor in that regard, but it's also representative of what you were saying, daily life.
Right.
So um, it's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to go back to the
Lot of
beginning a
themes.
little bit. It's directed by Kane Parsons, who's gone by Kane Pixels on YouTube for many
Yep.
years. And right now he is the director of the moment.
Yep.
He's 21, I think now, and
Very
he's
young.
broken so many records, and it's a phenomenon. It's amazing right now. It stars Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renata Rensfe, and the characters themselves are not necessarily. They do great jobs for what they're doing. They're perfectly cast, and it was not an easy job to do because they need to play important characters that are not important more so than the theme of the story. Which,
Well, they're more or less, their characters, they're plot devices.
Yep.
They're used so that you can have something to relate to, and they're used so that the story can move forward. So it is basically a perspective. So it's less about the characters and much more about the story. They are just used for the story.
and the
so-
story does take precedence over all of this.
Oh,
And
yes.
it really is.
It's a whole world.
a representation of a world, and
Mhm.
but it's just the same thing over and over and over. Now,
That's right.
before that starts to sound monotonous and boring, and everyone's seen the pictures by now. You're looking at them on our video,
Yeah, of course.
and it's just one yellow room after another, which in the movie it becomes comfortable but uncomfortable.
You're
it's-
used to it.
Ominous but somewhat cathartic in a weird way. And man, Parsons does a wonderful job of keeping up the tension in the movie, but also making you not want to come out of the movie. And it keeps your attention, but it also makes you want more.
Exactly. No, curiosity killed the cat.
You're dying to go to the next room to see if it changes. Okay, and
Exactly.
there's never like a boring moment in this movie. I think for the people that like
There's
it and
not a
get into
scene.
it,
There's not a scene wasted.
and
That is-
some of the environments do change,
Sure.
and there are levels, and all of this is represented throughout the film.
Mhm.
And then it has some scenes in daily life, which also show what they call the liminal aspect of this, which is repetitive nature of some things. And for people that haven't seen it and are not familiar with it, the liminal aspect of it is the same kind of quality that they used. It's been done for years. Kubrick did it in The Shining with the hallway and the carpet and that aesthetic.
Mhm.
It's been used again many times, and it just describes a transition between places that is not meant to be lived in and of itself. It's just the in between of 2 points, 2 destinations, and it can be represented in a lot of different ways. It's very effectively represented in these yellow rooms. Describe how you felt when you came
So-
out of the theater.
So coming out of the theater, when I went into the theater, let's just back that up. I was not expecting this concept, which is the Backrooms, because it is not a well-established thing. I believe the original photo, the original creepypasta began in 2019. The original photo that was used in the creepypasta, I believe, was taken in 2002. But
Something like
somewhere around there, either way, the Backrooms itself is a newer concept.
Mhm.
It's only been around for so many years, So for me, walking into this movie, I was expecting kind of mid-quality, kind of schlocky horror movie with maybe some cheap jump scares, maybe some psychological aspects to it, but not a lot of effort put into it. And I was expecting something along the same quality as The Monkey. If you've seen that movie, we do have a shorts review of that, I believe. But
Yeah,
we never did the long one because it didn't have a lot to talk about. Either way, that movie kind of sums up, or any schlocky horror movie. I mean, there's a lot of them. That's what I was expecting. That was kind of the standard. Walking out of the movies, and I've heard a lot of people say this, I had to think about it. You had to sleep on it. You had to contemplate, because it was not simple. It made you think. It had layers. It had subconscious feelings and emotions. And so when you have a movie like this that isn't just a one and done, you can go back and you can rewatch it. And these are very, very good and well done movies. So that's how I felt. I felt like I need to go back into that world. Ironically, like how the main character goes back into the back rooms, you're just dying to see. That same effect takes place in real life with this movie. That's how I feel about that. How did you feel about that? Because you had no introduction to this. You were not familiar with really the Backrooms or any of the lore associated with Ken Pixel's series.
Yeah. Okay. So from a Gen X perspective, I knew that you liked it, and I do trust your taste, obviously. Not that we always share the same opinions, but you said that there was something to this. So I went into it thinking like, okay, I'm going to find out what's going on with it. There's going to be something to it. And it was more than I expected, and it came at me from a different direction than I expected. I did not realize that it was going to be all ambiance and concept. And I'm used to we say a lot in a lot of these movies, like, they could have done more with the characters, they could have done more with the plot.
Right.
There were holes, there were problems, there were time jumps and skips, and it just didn't make sense.
The continuity didn't
This
add up.
this is a movie that does not care about your opinion of it, and it doesn't matter about the plot, and it doesn't matter about the characters. Everybody was perfect because the nature of the movie is unreality. It was immediately apparent that it was a reflection of how a 20-year-old would look at this world, or a 15-year-old, depending on when Kane Parsons was working on this. And it represents just the slop that everyone is being served on a daily basis. And it represents, for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, like going to college representing financial debt instead of opportunity, and why everything is the way that it is now. Why don't politicians ever make sense, any of them? Why are prices so high when they shouldn't be? Why did we just go through a worldwide pandemic, but nobody really talks about it anymore? It's like that it brings the uncanny valley right up front, right there in your face, and the sense of unreality. And I can see from a Gen X perspective where this came from. And it's original, it's new, it's fresh, and I would have never thought to put things in those terms of just repeating rooms in this dull, ominous,
Office,
but comfortable color, sort of weirdly, both, neither, I don't know. And the plot is, just go with it. The plot is exploration. There's a subplot. There are basic events that keep
Sure, you could look
invested in
you
the
could look
movie.
into the characters,
But-
and you could look into the basic storytelling elements, but
It's
that
not.
it's not the bigger picture.
It's not the bigger picture. So yeah, I thought it was just really good storytelling using a very current perspective.
Yes, what Kane Pixels did with the Backrooms to tell a story was impressive, because I was going into this, like I said, not very high expectations, and I thought that it was going to be based off some other lore that the Backrooms has, because there's however many levels and however many entities, you know, in these levels, and there's different.
And he doesn't cover that.
He doesn't cover that.
He very wisely knew that he wasn't just going to take the YouTube videos
Right.
and put them on the big screen.
Right. He didn't just make a collage of all of it and, you know, just try to make his YouTube series bigger.
Mm-hmm.
He separated it. So it's congruent. And I use that term specifically because in an interview he said that he would like to have these series, the movie plus the actual series, be congruent, which is good. That was a smart decision. So he only used what he's already used. So instead of saying, and now we're in this level, we stayed with what we got. So very, very intelligent move.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
this is a movie that we've heard more than one person say, wow, I got out of the theater and I needed some time to think about that.
Right.
And it's a movie that I think it's important to note a lot of people are very uncomfortable with this movie. And that means it succeeded, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think you're right.
I consider that a win. I also consider the money that it's making a huge win.
Well, it's just impressive the amount of money that it's made.
Yeah, and it's kind of representative of the cultural moment that we're having right now, because for many years we've talked about the state of Hollywood, and for many years the film industry and the movie business has been in decline. They're not making as many movies. The movies aren't making the money that they were making. The pandemic did really represent a change in time, and the theaters have never been the same. But a lot of conversation has also been had that the movies are not as good. And that's, I think, something that we would agree on, because we've seen a lot of really mid-level movies. Like, they're not good.
There's a lot, and they're asking for a lot to go see them.
They're asking for a lot to go see them, and they're not returning, you know, the time and the money that you put into it. They're not coming through on the promise. So what we're seeing this year is, you know, instead of going through the Hollywood log jam, we got YouTubers. So we had Iron Lung, we've got Obsession, we've got Backrooms, and these are all getting mentioned together because these are people that built their following on YouTube, and as it turns out, that following is willing to follow them to the theaters. So all this idea that people don't go to theaters anymore, that goes out the window when you have something that they want to see.
Yeah, when you have something to go see in the movie theater, then you go to the movies.
Right.
As opposed to, you know, Predator. I'm like, I would have waited.
Ooh, wow.
Would have waited for that one. I'm just saying, that's like the last thing we went to go see in the movies.
That was the last thing we went to see in the movies.
Like, we were due for a redemption. I mean, seriously.
No, that's a
seriously.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Let me throw some numbers at you, because this is a part that fascinates me. Backrooms was made with a $10 million budget. And let's compare that to the other big movies this summer. They're being made for $150 million or $200 million or $250 million or more sometimes. And that's just below the line budgets. That's not all the extras. That's not the advertising, marketing.
Right.
You know, so you're talking
that's
about
the bare bones.
You know, movies that you know, that below the line budget is already so high, and then everyone, you know, they're shocked when it doesn't turn out to be a financial success. There's a movie in theaters right now that we're not going to talk about because it's not time to talk about that. And it's you know, representative of an expensive blockbuster, and it's just cratering because of lack of interest, because they didn't bring it.
Because nobody cares.
They didn't fulfill the promise. But you have something that people do care about, like Backrooms, and boom. So they both made, the blockbuster and Backrooms made the same amount of money on opening weekend for the 3-day box office. Okay, and the budget was a tenth. It was actually much less than a tenth, almost like say a sixth. 5th or 6th, something like that. And it's amazing. Same thing with Obsession. Obsession was made for $750,000, and then it got bought by studios. And Backrooms has been helped by studios. It's kind of interesting. It's an A24 movie. That's a studio. This is their biggest movie by far, their biggest release ever. And Kane Parsons was helped by producers James Wan, who we all know from Conjuring and many other movies,
And Oz Perkins.
Oz Perkins, that we know from The Monkey and
And
Long Legs,
Long Legs.
and all that good
Mhm.
stuff. So these folks, came in, but the word that keeps being passed along is that this really was Kane Parsons' movie, and I think you could see that because I did go back and
most
watch
definitely.
YouTube videos, and I'm like, okay, this is all his stuff, and this is not.
There was not a lot of influence as far as the storytelling. And I'm like, okay,
No,
that is all him.
Yeah,
You're exactly correct.
So, well, the last thing I'm going to say that really impressed me was that this is not a jump scare movie, but the tension remains. This is definitely kind of if you make a point to go in open-minded and you let it take you on a ride, it's going to.
But you're not going in open-minded. You say, I do want to elaborate a little bit. So, whereas other movies where it's just go in, have a good time, don't worry about the story so much.
I'm not saying that.
That's right. But I
Okay,
just wanted
all
to
right,
elaborate
good
on
point.
that because it can sound synonymous.
Well, you hear it all the time.
Right,
Reviewers
just
like,
go
I
in
had a good
open-minded.
time with this movie. And
Right,
you're going to hear
it
that
was
about
fun.
a lot of movies this
Not
summer.
the case. This
No.
movie has a ride to go on. There
Absolutely.
is a roller coaster, and it has peaks, and it has, things to look forward to, and it has some mystery, and it's got a lot of answers, or not a lot of answers. It has a lot of questions unanswered. So don't worry about it so much. Don't worry about overanalyzing. Don't worry about the quality of the movie. It's there.
Yep.
Just go in and don't think about the exterior surrounding other movies or the industry.
Don't compare it to other
Just
movies.
just
that's-
let it be.
Yep.
And that is another huge theme in the Backrooms. Let it be what it is.
Yep.
So with that, just wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, good point.
So,
good point. Because a lot of people
just wanted to mention because
say
it's not
junk
just
like that, and you're like, oh, so it's terrible.
right. Just
But
have a
it's
good
good.
time, man. Like
Yeah.
no, not the case. This movie has substance.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I just want to mention the atmosphere, the iconic atmosphere of Backrooms, the humming lights, the endless yellow wallpaper. It adds so much more than you would even expect. At one point, both of us actually, I don't remember, it wasn't at the same point, but we were both like, how long have we been here?
Yeah,
Because
we
this
were.
movie is an hour and 45 minutes long.
We were talking afterwards.
Right.
And both of us at one point or another in the movie were like, how long is this
Right.
movie
How
going?
long?
Like,
And then it ended, and we're like, what? That's it? Like, what?
oh,
what-
it
what's
does
that?
do that.
It's like,
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
So,
Leaves a nice cliffhanger
oh, yes.
to think about.
Right. No,
right?
it's not. It's not like
it's not a
and then-
cliffhanger like,
nothing. It's
oh,
like,
we got to find out in the next movie. It's
right.
like,
no,
oh.
it's not like you can get your tickets here.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's something that is well thought out.
Yeah,
Like I
it's-
said,
yeah.
everything in this movie is very cleverly done.
Yep.
And well crafted. So that's the last thing I wanted to mention. It's 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for 2026. I mean, this is a phenomenal film.
Yeah, no,
I
for
really enjoyed.
2026,
I
yeah.
enjoyed this movie. I
Right.
think that it'll last. There's things that you can go back and analyze, that you can think about
Oh, yeah.
after a second or third watch. There's something there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he is going to continue. I believe they planned to do more films, so you can expect.
He's
I
been a
think.
little. He wants to do it in a television serial sense. He feels like it's best presented that way. I think that's going to be reminiscent of the YouTube
Of the
history.
YouTube series.
And I think that now that as a filmmaker, he gets to see how the audience has been affected by it. Let's give him a moment.
All right,
to
maybe
breathe and
he needs a
reflect,
little.
and I'm
maybe a
sure
little time.
anybody would, because the
Naturally.
success of it right now is just blowing everyone's mind. So let things get a little quiet, rewatch it, see what happens.
All right, that is a fair point.
I'm very much looking forward to this coming out on video. One of
Oh,
the things that
yes.
we've done in our absence, we got a projector screen. And we stopped going to the theater.
We stopped
We
going
started
to
bringing the theater home.
exactly.
And it's
So
made a huge
we got a lot of movies.
Oh,
a lot of
man.
movies.
We got a lot of reviews coming up.
We got a lot to say. A lot of things to talk about.
Seen a lot of cool stuff, and we are excited to talk about it. But
With that being said, I'm Z with your Gen Z perspective.
and I'm X with your X Gen X perspective.
Okay.
Xness.
All right,
Perspective.
you got the X, I got the Z. Either way, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next review.
Now, I have to confess, I have not seen this movie. And to be honest with you, I'm not inclined to, for no other reason than I don't care for movies based on video games, which I understand this is. I haven't played video games since probably the early 1990s, and it's one of those genres of movies that I have a hang up about watching, like anything that's dubbed into English. I can't get past it. I can't concentrate on the movie, and the whole thing just becomes very distracting. However, I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. In fact, the only negative review of this that I've heard came from my own son, who saw it and said it was about nothing and one of the most boring things he'd seen in a long time. Well, there you go. To each his own. Thank you guys for letting us share your movie review with us tonight. And like the piano playing werewolf should have told you, it's time for one more for the road. Clark and Sheffield. And with that, I will close the Werewolf Bar for this month. We're glad you could spend a little time with us tonight. We appreciate you stopping by, and if you could, like and subscribe before you leave the bar. That'd be okay with us. Remember, you can find us online at werewolfhunter.com. Send us a message at brian@werewolfhunter.com, or you can direct message me on my Facebook page, which I mentioned is provided along with all the other Werewolf Hunter related madness in the description below. Special thanks to Carnivore Studios and Historical Recreations for their contributions to tonight's episode, and special thanks to you for watching tonight. We'll see you next month in the dog days of August. Until then, try to stay cool, and remember, autumn's just around the corner. Until then, happy hunting, and mind the moon.